3, 2.
1. You're on there. Oh, that wasn't a gun, people, neither. It was my finger.
All right. You're live, Sherry. Go ahead and let everybody know what's up, and I'm going to mute and just let you take the show.
We are back with Thom Davis, and we're in Burns, and he's got a lot to update us on. And I'm going to let him start, and we will go from there.
Well, first of all, I'm against all this arresting that they're doing. They're rounding up people like cattle. It kind of reminds me of Germany with the SS rounding up any dissidents, anybody that was against Hitler. We got them sending people to psychologists and that, which is a joke. They're the biggest nuts there ever was. And that government psychologist that's paid for by them, that'll give them the answer they want and nothing else. Reminds you of Mengele in Germany. Or you can go to the USSR, Russia. We have now become the USSA, United Socialist States of America. I just heard President Obama is talking about arresting all that was involved in the Oregon standoff. It's kind of funny. Is he going to start arresting all the puppets of his, starting with the FBI and all these French mercs that came here to kill? Is he going to start arresting people for murder, like the OSP? And our great governor, Kate Brown, our sheriff, David Ward, Stephen Grasky, our so-called judge, or whatever you want to call his position, his title. When will Americans stand up? When will you stop being chickens? It's time to stand up for our rights as Americans. I never seen nobody going out arresting all the cop beaters and the guys that beating the cops and everything in Baltimore, the people that are burning and destroying businesses and places in Ferguson, or the people that held up the Capitol building in Madison, Wisconsin. Why weren't they arrested? Or let's go to Wall Street, occupiers, right in front of the Multnomah courthouse, where they've got the Bundys now. Why weren't they arrested? $4.5 million worth of damage, obstructing justice, obstructing commerce, and all this intimidation of the police, threatening police, rape. Well, why weren't they arrested? Come on, people. This government has gone outlaw. They've gone rogue. They're not for the people. They're for the government. They're for the rich bankers in Sweden. They're for Rothschilds. This so-called bar association, and that is part of the international British system. Look into what the exact word bar means. Study it and learn out. This Bar Association of America belongs to a corporate bar association that's called World Bar Association of the Netherlands. Time to do your research. We are represented by lawyers in Washington, D.C. Our government, founding fathers did not want lawyers to be in government because they're corrupt. They're corrupt for the pay. They're paid whores. Time to face them.
Is it the Netherlands or Denmark?
Netherlands.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Netherlands. And so it's quite kind of interesting. You know, you get all this stuff going on that's here in Harney County. You start questioning what's going on. One answer you can come out with is greed. The politicians like Peter DeFazio, Wyden, Merkley, all these ones that vote away our rights are paid for and bought for by the devil himself. They work for a devil organization, Illuminati. It's time we just start looking at facts here.
Let's talk about what happened yesterday out at the refuge, or rather all week long.
Week long. I kind of have problems with that whole quote-unquote video tape thing they had going on. It always ran in a loop. It was like it was on a big, huge loop. And they was saying the same thing after a certain while. It'd come back to the same stuff that David Fry was saying. Were they actually recorded? Was it a situation to promote these people that raced over here, to promote and power grab or whatever you want to do to make them show good light? I have questions on that. I have questions on why South Africa knew a half hour before we did here in Harney County that this was over. Something's wrong. It's fishy. This whole thing is fishy. I believe they might have been compromised. I believe they might have been taken earlier. I don't know. I have so many questions that's unanswerable because the FBI was playing a game. The FBI was trying to get the militants here.
Yesterday they had Chris Ann Hall talking
Yeah.
to David Fry.
Yeah.
And I do believe that was live when they were doing that. So I don't think David was taken then.
Are you sure? Was she talking face to face?
I'm not 100% sure.
Was she talking face to face, or was she talking to David Fry from a phone? That could have been anywhere. The FBI has assets.
He's been pretty good about putting out information. Wouldn't he have found a way to say it?
He might have, but the phone, you got to remember, was given to him by the FBI, which was given to them by the Oregonian.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was an Oregonian cell phone. Why was that the only cell phone to be able to get out? Every other cell phone was blocked. Why was that one cell phone the only one to get out? Question. Like I said, there's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions.
And a lot of corruption to boot. And it's protecting a lot of corrupt people in Harney County even. But it seems like the American people don't give a damn about corruption. All they care about is their paycheck from the government. Burns, Oregon is controlled by Bureau of Land Management and Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife, whatever they want to call themselves. Forest Service, which is all government. Department of the Interior. These people are paid for by the government. And now we found out yesterday up at Grant County that a lot of the Grant County BLM, Forest Service, county workers up there came down to protest and say they were from Harney County and protest against the people.
They were paid up there to come down and say they were?
I don't know it for a fact. I can't confirm it, but I heard through the grapevine that they came down there and there was some money involved.
Well, there was a meeting last night in Grant County up in John Day, and you attended that meeting, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that meeting?
No, I can't. I've got to keep
Was
that
it a
one.
public meeting?
No.
Okay.
No, it was private.
Okay.
No.
I thought it was a public meeting.
No.
That's why I was asking.
The meeting I went to down here was public, and that was on the Constitution of the United States. And that was given by a speaker, and it was dealing with the Constitution.
And when was that?
When I talked to you on the phone, what, about 6:37,
okay.
right in that area.
And that was here in Burns?
That was here in Burns.
Okay.
No, it was up here in Burns.
Where was that held?
The Commerce Building.
At the Commerce Building?
Yeah,
okay.
Burns City of Commerce.
Do you know any of the people that were there?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
as far as were there government officials there? Was Judge Grasty there?
Nope. There was one lady that I know works for the county courthouse, and that was it. She works in the land title surveyor office.
Okay.
Sayer's office.
Okay.
No. And everybody else there was Frank.
Okay.
Hey, Sherry, can you do me a favor? Can you do me a
No,
favor?
Company was there too.
Sherry,
Susie was there.
She was there.
I have to tell y'all, I spent a lovely afternoon with Susie one day. Beautiful woman.
Yeah.
I really liked her.
Strong.
Oh my goodness, her strength could lift up 10 men.
Yeah.
You know, and she's a wonderful woman, and she's really been given a raw deal in this whole thing for decades now. And if anybody can help the Hammonds, they certainly need it. They need to pay a lot of legal defense bills, and you can contact U.S. Bank to do that. So if anybody can find it in their heart to help them out, please do that. I want to ask you about all the flags that we're seeing around Burns right now.
hey, Sherry.
Joke.
Sherry.
They put up these flags.
Sherry.
And
Sherry.
yesterday. They took them down last night, and they put them back out this morning.
It's all U.S. flags, and we're going to have some video up of those later. We got some around town, and we're going to do a series of video clips, and it'll be up on our YouTube channel at Readout News. But go ahead, Thom.
Okay, I'll tell you guys, I'm not out for making fame or nothing. I'm just out. I'm sick and tired of this bullshit. I'm sick and tired of the way they treated the Bundys. I'm sick and tired of the games the government's played against a good family. Sick and tired of a lot of good families being destroyed. That wants the Constitution of the United States back in our government. Wants our government to become servants to us and not us servants to them. And so if you guys think I'm out here just to make a name for myself, you're crazy. I have no idea of that. I'm just a simple person, unarmed. I have no arms. I don't pack no arms. So federal government, I'm unarmed in that. but I want freedom. I want freedom in America. I want our Pledge of Allegiance said in our school. I want our schools to be able to say the Lord's Prayer and or to be able to thank God and
I need to
not
send Thom a super soaker.
put down that because they have the Ten Commandments or a cross on the building and that because they're some Muslim is offended. If you don't like this country, you're offended by this country, go the fuck back home. Excuse my language. Go the heck back home. We don't need you here. And we don't need people that don't like us. You're coming to our country, so learn to accept our ways and our values.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here, make sure that everybody who is just tuning in know what we're doing. This is Sherry. I'm with readoutnews.com, REDOUBT news, NEWS.com. We're on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We're with Rancher Thom Davis from Harney County. We're getting updates on everything that's happened this week and a little bit more. Keep going, Thom.
No, it's just look at our county here. Everybody's talking about this great love fest we have in our county, how we were united. We were never united. It's been the city people against the ranchers and all this, the city people mostly being government employees. They vote against us all the time. Anything that comes up, they'll vote against us. Steve Grasty was elected by them, even though he was corrupt. He was elected by them. He stole land from me, sent out the goon squad with the road department, and they ripped down my fences and just threw my fences away. Cost a couple $1,000s worth of damage and stole 3 acres of land. It's not a big amount of land, but 3 acres is still 3 acres of private property. I don't know why he did it out on the road I live on. It's a very remote road. My county surveyor map showed I had a 60-foot right-of-way. Grasty said I had it. He has an 80-foot right-of-way. So they took out my fence and to move it out 20 more feet. 2 miles of fence. Figure out how long it takes you to put up 2 miles fence. You do a quarter mile. That's 49 fence posts. That's over 250 clips. And it's a lot of money. And besides work. 4 strands of barbed wire, $79 a wire. So you just start adding up the bill, and it's a lot of money and the time and labor to do it. And these guys, these jackals in Harney County Road Department under Steve Grasty's order without no order from the courts. And we never even had a day in trial, just sending out his goons and tore down my fence. And that started me looking into the land issues and that of other ranchers. I've known Susie and Dwight for quite a long time, good friends. Good people, and then the government is trying to steal their land because their land situated between the Mulhill Refuge and this so-called Steen Mountain Wilderness that's going to turn into one big fire hazard because of the overgrowth of grass, fuel buildup, the brush overtaken. One day it's going to be a sterilized moonscape up there because of the stupidity of the environmentalists and the government. I'll give you an example of stupidity of the government. They found what they call the wild cabbage in this country. It's a plant that kind of looks like a cabbage, and they fenced it off because, oh my God, the cows who've been eating around that plant for 125 years is going to destroy that plant. So they fenced off 40 acres to protect this stupid plant. Environmentalists in its supreme glory, stupidity. You know what happened? Those cheatgrass came in, Medusa head came in, they destroyed that colony of cabbage, wild cabbage. It's no longer exists. It's gone. The cows is keeping the weeds from intruding upon and destroying the soil. Medusa head is a silicone type plant, and it builds colonies, and it'll force out any native grasses, any native plants. So we got a whole idea of government environmentalists that's out to control something that they know damn thing about and blaming the cows for the problem of that poor little plant's going to be an endangered species. Thank you, environmentalists. Thank you, BLM. You made it an endangered species.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about a conversation I had with a business owner here. Had quite a conversation with him this afternoon. Actually, it was a couple, and they are a mixed opinion on different things, but they were very clear about a few things. Number one, he's known Steve Grasty for 30 years and said he's been corrupt as long as he's known him. And he will do anything that the feds tell him. And though ranching is the biggest industry out here right now, it used to be timber.
Yes.
That they had the largest mill in several states, I think, right out here.
We had the largest warehouse west of the Mississippi being a half mile long. and you could fit 7 trucks side by side inside of it in the width of the building. Length was a half mile. It was the largest west of the Mississippi. And now it's no longer. You can look out there, it's gone. We got the quarter-mile one left, but the other one's gone.
And you have the largest ponderosa pine forest, not what?
Oh,
15, 20 miles from
10
here?
miles up there.
10 miles.
10 miles.
10
I seen that sucker crowning off because of piss poor wilderness management up there by the BLM and the Forest Service. You ever hear a freight train coming down at you? Wait till you see that pine torching off, crowning up. That fire runs right up that tree and just booms at the top. We've been pushing cows out through that fire. Lost 1 cow because we couldn't get her out fast enough. And it was a backfire. Of course, the backfire started by BLM at the wrong time of day. The Forest Service, I should say, at the wrong time of day. And so, piss poor management. All they're after is they're after the minerals and the wealth. I read a study today that I believe it was 62% of the BLM's money comes from mining. People, you call this your land? That ain't your land. It's a BLM. Once the miners take over, once a mining company takes control, you're not allowed on the land. The refuge, the issue of the refuge. Listen to what they say. Federal lands, federal buildings. So I thought it was public lands. I thought it was we the people's land. Public is a twist on words. The government owns the land, and they will control who's on it and who's not on it. They have signs that unauthorized permit, not authorized without permission. The only way to get permission is if you're elite in the government or your BLM or one of those type people. And that. So this whole public land that you can go on and vacation, recreate on is going to come to an end. You're seeing it all over the United States. Places being shut down for various reasons, from a camping ground of the Alp or whatever they want. They're shutting it down so you cannot authorize the transport on it. It's time to wake up, people. It's time to wake up. And my son just pulled in behind me.
Is he willing to get on camera too?
Here he comes. No. Big fancy pickup. He bought with his own cows.
Is this Hunter?
This is Hunter.
Hello, Hunter. Step on in here. We'll get you both in the shot. Hunter Davis.
Yeah.
Tell us all about you.
Oh no, that's a long story.
Okay. Tell us how you feel about what's been happening.
Well, I think I'm 100% for it. The government needs to stop pushing us around. I mean, they're hired by us to control, and have overreached their boundaries.
And how old are you, Hunter?
I am 19 years old.
So you've been raised in the government schools, or were you homeschooled?
No, I've been all over different schools. I went to a little rural school, a little two-room schoolhouse.
And then he went to train and then to Burns.
Okay.
And that single dad.
So what do you think about how they're teaching the kids on this government stuff? Do you think they're doing a good job?
I don't think they're teaching them about it.
Why do you say that?
Well, they're basically like a lot of this. If you just paid attention in history class, you'd understand what's happening, and that the government's overstepping their bounds. And I don't think they're really teaching it very much in history class anymore. So it's just more what you got to find out on your own.
Okay. Your dad was telling us he took you out to give you a civics lesson, and he took you to the airport and the courthouse, if I remember right.
No,
And down to the refuge.
I went down to the refuge quite a bit. I never went out to the airport or to the courthouse.
No, drive by it and see it. Is what I mean, where the guys are all set up with military guns. No. We couldn't get in there. So, no, we weren't. But the difference between the refuge down there and the airport and that, the refuge is friends. They're family. They treated us good. Hunter got to meet some good people. Oh, Lavoie. I told you the story about Lavoie. Tell him about Lavoie when he met you.
I already told that story.
Yeah, but hearing it from you is a whole totally different perspective.
It's about the same perspective. When I met him, he was really, really just really nice, really awesome fella, and typical dad trying to set me up with his daughters.
Well, you never know. You might get a chance to meet him yet. least you know you had the boys' approval ahead of time, right?
And then I looked at Hunter and said, see, Hunter, all dads are that way.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've got a friend up where we live. Every young man he meets, he wants to give his daughter to. Of course, she's about 45, I think. And, you know, they'd walk into a ready-made family, you know, but he's doing it still.
Yeah.
Still. But,
Puppy's pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're taking the pup back to some people bought a new pup.
really,
Yeah.
let's go take a look at the pup while we talk. Everybody likes to see different things. So we're going to walk over here to this. Let's see.
Loud. It's Wigglebutt. Hey, Wigglebutt. You want your new home. It's a guard dog.
Yeah, Hawk, I'm. You have to speak up if you want me to hear you.
All right, yeah, I've been screaming at the mic.
Go ahead, Hawk. Speak up.
Yeah, what I was going to say, I have several people that are going to help me do this, and I'm going to be working on a documentary.
At the meeting, right?
Okay, never mind.
Everything. Well, thank you much, Hawk. You take it easy, and we will see you tonight at the meeting.
And we're going to make sure that you're all set up, that we can do some more Skyping even from North Idaho.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay?
I've got Skype now.
Good.
No,
Good.
I-
You like it, huh? It works.
It's okay.
Well, it's kind of nice to see somebody when you're talking to
Yeah,
them.
it's not true.
Yep.
True.
Yep. So we're going to get you doing some more with Hawk and maybe some with us and keeping us updated. And I'm going to be back down here next week,
Okay.
hopefully Sunday morning.
Like I said, you know where you can craft.
Thank you.
We'll help you out, Hawk.
Okay, Hawk, we're going to be signing off.
All right.
You tell everybody to tune in to readoutnews.com and Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And they're going to get all kinds of updates from us here soon.
All right. Thanks a
now.
lot.
Good night.
Good night. All right, I'm in the process. I'm going to be doing a video because it seems like most of the keyboard warriors are city dwellers anyway, and they don't even understand what we do out here as farmers. So I'm going to do a documentary called The Days and the Lives of Ranchers and Farmers. And I'm going to wait till spring to actually do this because that's when it gets really hectic. So you guys can see the kind of sundown, sunup kind of stuff that we all have to do. And I'm not just talking about ranchers that are raising cattle, but, you know, hog farmers and, organic, vegetable growers and dairy, organic dairy farmers and all the things they have to go with. I'm already setting up with several farmers, and I'm just basically going to do a big documentary showing what actually is really going on in a farm, because nobody gets to see that anymore because most people are not farmers. Most of our country at one time, we're all farmers in one sort or another, whether it be a small plot. There used to be what they call rock farmers and large plot farmers, and then there are huge plot farmers. I have my family's farm up in Indiana used to be 27,000 acres. It's down to about 11,500 acres. My uncle is also, excuse me, I gave the wrong number. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. We have all these farmers with these huge plots, small plots, major plots, and then these magnificent, huge areas they have to do. But a farmer's life is not easy. I mean, I used to go out to my Aunt Mary's. We'd go out there in the fall, and it was canning time. And everybody, and it wasn't a one-person job, two-person job. Usually, when me and Liz are canning, it was just the two of us. I mean, it was the whole family was freaking there. There was corn days, and there were green bean days, and there were tomato days, and it was just and there was not just one or two. It was 20 people. In fact, there's a bag of corn somewhere in history that has part of one of my fingers in it. I remember Aunt Mary was way less concerned about my finger as to how much blood just got in that corn, and now we got to throw it away. I can still remember that pain. It was my middle finger. I shaved right through the fingernail into the bed of my nail, stripping corn on a mandolin. Oh Lordy! But anyway. So anyway, we're going to drop off here again. I have to. You know, somebody keeps saying, you keep going away just when we're getting in. I'm letting these things buffer out and archive so I have segments. Because next what we have coming up is Sheriff Mack meeting. Now I'm going to finish a video I started earlier. And then I'm going to buffer this off because we still got about an hour and a half. This video is an hour. I should make it perfect, and then I can buffer this off when it gets done. And then we can be at that meeting live and do that as its own thing. This is the Oregon Standoff to Sheriff Ward. How Northern California sheriffs deal with the feds.
They have sacrificed their personal time, resources, and risked media criticism to attend this gathering, allowing us to honor their efforts to ensure your individual rights, liberties, and responsibilities as defined under the Constitution of the United States. Many of them have encountered the current onslaught against that constitutional way of life and have taken an extraordinary personal stand by placing themselves between that onslaught and the citizens who elected them. They have identified many of the tactics used and they have identified potential solutions, but they need our awareness and support. Unfortunately, it is also my assignment to try and keep 7 armed lawmen and an attorney having the power to incarcerate me to approximately 5 minutes each. Anyone who would like to speak, please feel free to introduce yourself after I introduce our own Sheriff John Lope.
First of all, thank you very much for being here, and I'm honored to be the first sheriff to speak because we got an outstanding panel of sheriffs, some of the best sheriffs in California as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things that really, thank you. And one of the things that really encourages us, the people of Siskiyou County, is the fact that not only do I have backup from all these great sheriffs and an attorney, which is sometimes rare, but we also have backup from all you great citizens. Thank you very much for being here and supporting us. You are an inspiration to us, and you're our heroes. Now I'm going to just spend a couple minutes telling you why you might think, well, why are sheriffs involved in this coordination and this government controversy? Well, because all sheriffs are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And the California Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And quite frankly, I spent time in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I tell my lovely wife Maxine sometimes it seems like I get more friendly fire than enemy fire. And everybody's not real happy with what we're doing, but essentially what we're doing is we're standing up for the people. And I know these great sheriffs up here will tell you the same thing, but I don't know how many countless meetings I've been to with our federal and state officials, and I must say some federal and state officials are cooperative and do coordinate with us, but some of them do not. And I don't know how many times I've heard, well, why are you doing this? Why are you picking on the people? And usually I hear it's the fish. I usually say, hey, you know what? We love fish. If we didn't live in Siskiyou County, I mean, that's why we live here, because we love the great outdoors. And yes, we want to preserve the fish. We want to preserve wildlife. We want to preserve the environment. Of course we do. Because Siskiyou County, to me, is the most beautiful place in the world, and some of our sheriffs up here live in great counties as well. But one of the retorts I have to them is, well, hey, you know, I try to remember continuously, we serve the people. You don't work for us, we work for you. And I just like a little bit of balance between the need to protect the environment, things like fish, because most of the people in my county are telling me, hey, you know what? Some of you federal and state agencies care more about fish, frogs, trees, and birds than you do about the human race. What's that all about? And one more thing. We're broke. Why are you doing stupid stuff to make us poorer? Why don't you let the people work? Why don't you let the people thrive? Why don't you let our economy grow and not go backwards? When my you know, we have the dams, we have transportation management issues, we have forest management issues, and just one thing with public safety, almost every single decision made by federal and state governments impacts public safety and the health and welfare of our people. That's why the sheriffs are involved. And they also are there to uphold the law. And a lot of these federal agencies are not properly coordinating or cooperating with us, which is required by law. So these great sheriffs up here, and I've been involved in that the last 10 months, is to force these federal and state agencies to start serving the people and coordinate and start balancing your decisions with the needs of the people. I could go on, but those are just a few of the reasons the sheriffs are intimately involved in this fight, because if we don't stand up, we are right now in a fight for our survival. We are fighting not only for ourselves, more importantly, we're fighting for the survival of our counties, of our local communities, and our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't save things like agriculture, and we let them take our water and land and push us off, we won't have any public safety, we'll have no quality of life, we'll have nothing. And I think I've said enough. I guess I'm going to hand this over to Dean Wilson. And I would like to say these are very distinguished sheriffs. I have Dean Wilson from Dale North County, and he's a good guy, and he's from the coast too. My friend Bruce Haney from Trinity County. Tom Basenko from Shasta County. The famous Greg Hagwood from Plumas County. And Karen is our backup attorney, and she's one of the few attorneys, her and Kirk Andrus and some of our prosecutors. I mean, she is helping us out up here, backing us up, and she's a great citizen. She's helping us out, and we really appreciate having her. Sheriff Palmer from Grant County in Oregon. And Gil Gilbertson from Josephine County would have been here, and Mike Poindexter from Modoc County in California would have been here too, but he's in Hawaii, and I said, you know, maybe you better go in Hawaii with your wife. I mean, she deserves it. And who else do we have down there? We have Dave Hencraft from Chahama County. Another road warrior. And Dean Grouden from Lassen County, and they're just the greatest sheriffs in the county. Give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, we thought we'd just spend a couple minutes. Each sheriff will tell you some of the issues that are going on in their counties. We're all in a struggle, all of them. And by the way, I also wanted to, we have all our board of supervisors here and all these great public officials that are here who are supporting the cause. Thank you for being here. I know that I've seen all the Siskiyou County Board of Supervisor members and representatives from the state and the senator and the Senate Assembly and Wally Herger's office. Thank you for being here. And just one more time, thank you for all of you for being here, especially those who traveled from outside the area. Thanks for supporting us. God bless you. I'm sorry. I had to tell you one quote. Just one quote, okay, before I get off the mic here. It's from Thomas Jefferson, and I don't know why it seems applicable, but Thomas Jefferson once said that if the people fear the government, what do you got?
Tyranny.
You got tyranny. Now, if the government is afraid of the people, what do you have?
Freedom.
The L word, liberty. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting us here to Wairika. As Sheriff of Del Norte County, it has been an honor to serve my community for the past 9 years. When I got into law enforcement and when I was elected sheriff, I was ignorant and naive of not only my responsibilities and my duties, but also the terrible condition that our state was in, not being involved in politics. Once elected, however, going back and forth to Sacramento, I quickly learned that the state of California was in deep trouble, that Sacramento was incredibly dysfunctional, that this was not a Democrat problem or a Republican problem. This was a problem that plagued both houses, and neither one seemed to be capable of solving it. I became involved in our Tea Party, and in so doing, I learned not only that I had spent a good part of my life enforcing the penal code, but not understanding my oath. Since that time, I have looked at what not only what I do as a sheriff, but what my department does. And I have learned that the assault that's being committed against the people of our community by our own government. Today, it was about a year ago when I had a meeting with our Grange. They invited me to talk with the U.S. Forest Service manager. At that point in time, I learned about a little-known thing called the Travel Management Plan. This travel management plan exists if you have U.S. Forest Service lands or federal lands that are in the hands and managed by the government, the federal government. There is a travel management plan that has been put forward. This travel management plan was calling for not only limiting but also decommissioning roads within our community. They had done this without my knowledge. They had engaged in this activity without the knowledge in large part of our county government. They were engaged with talks with several off-road vehicle groups that were in our area about the desire. But these meetings, although congenial, there was no need for the government to actually comply or meet with any of the demands or requests from the local groups that were involved in these meetings. Once I learned that they were talking about doing to my community in our county and the direct impact that it was going to have on public safety, I immediately started to engage in coordination with our local government and with the federal government agencies that were involved. I informed the other sheriffs that have those types of things in their areas to look at this, to please take a look and see if this is going on in their areas, because if it is in mine, and it had been for over a year without my knowledge, that it was going on in their areas and their communities as well. We have an assault upon our community. One of the greatest things about Del Norte County is we have everything that we need to be self-sustaining, self-reliant, and to have a thriving economy. We can live in harmony and sustain our environment, whether it's through fishing or timber. But those things have been denied for us and from us by our government. 74% of Del Norte County is either in federal or state holdings right now. Their influence on us is crippling our community and our economy. And as sheriff, I have taken it upon as part of my responsibility to the public safety, well-being, and welfare of my community to seek out and try to stop any infringement upon the rights of our property, our lives, or our liberties within Del Norte County. Every sheriff up here took a sworn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. But the responsibility, the absolute critical responsibility, the shame that has come upon us by the infliction of our own government's actions towards us rests only in one person's hands, and that's our own. We have been asleep too long. We have allowed government to dictate. We have allowed parties to tell us who they were going to give us as our candidates. We have allowed people to stand by, and we have allowed this to happen to our country. Our founding fathers saw this, understood it, warned us about it, but they also gave us the tools to repair and to fix our country. I am thankful to each of you for being here, because only with your commitment, your strength, your determination, your passion, can we not only hold each and every one of our local politicians accountable and responsible, as we should always insist upon, but we can take back our country. Even if it's a county by county, we can take it back. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Haney, Sheriff of Trinity County. This is, we're sitting up here not just as individual sheriffs, we're sitting up here as a united group. That's why we're here tonight. We have, we're rural counties. I mean, Trinity County is a little over 20% unemployment. It is, depending on how you want to phrase it, managed or mismanaged. 80% of our county is federally managed or mismanaged, however you want to. So we do have resources. We have timber, but we have such a high unemployment rate. We have a small permanent population in our county. We are probably an easier target than Siskiyou, and we have a couple of dams as well. So that's why this is so important for all of us to be sitting up here, united, as I believe most people in the audience are here tonight. In Trinity County, the government has such a nice spin or a nice way to phrase things. The travel plan. Doesn't that sound nice? It sounds, all we have to do is sign up and we're part of the travel plan, right? No, what it is the travel plan is to keep us off of public lands is what it is. In the southern part of our county, I found out just a couple of weeks ago that they're decommissioning roads. They haven't discussed that with the sheriff's office. What does that mean? I'll tell you, in the last 3 to 4 weeks, we've had 4 major search and rescue operations go on. It's hunting season, so people from other counties come and they get lost. Without these roads, we don't have a way to look for them. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've flown over the forest before, but you can't see much on the ground. So again, these are public safety issues that affect not only the way we do our jobs, but it affects the way we have access to to public lands. They forgot that. Have you ever heard the term federally owned? Is there such a thing? Don't we own it? Aren't we the people? Right. So I'll tell you what. Here's my theory: is that if we have one lumber mill left in the county. Yeah, I know we are, and that's because he decided to stick it out. But I'll tell you what: if he tries to put a lumber plan or a harvest plan together, you've got all the lawsuits, the environmentals come out. I'm going to tell you, I believe that our federal government's been inundated with environmentalists. I think that's why these things get shut down. You know, I'm gonna agree with probably 99.9% everything that the sheriffs are going to say up here. We are a united group. You need to be united as well, which I believe you are. But there's something that as I look over this crowd, I see a mature, hard-working group of people. But there's something I see that's missing as well. And along with being united, we need to educate our most valuable resource, and that's our youth. Our youth is being indoctrinated through public school programs, the college system. We need to, you know what, I've got a son. I saw a guy standing back up there with an Oregon State sweatshirt on. My son goes to Oregon State. And I tell you what they see in those colleges, you know, fortunately my son grew up in a home where he goes, that's not how it's supposed to work. But not every kid has. So along with uniting together as a group, because, you know, I'm a citizen up here too. That's what I am. I rely on those dams staying in place so that the man I buy hay from, who I got 4 tons sitting out on my trailer right now, maybe it better still be there. That's not funny. So that he can continue to do business, right? I mean, this country was formed off people, it was formed off rural America. I mean, we haven't been non-rural for very long, even with the big cities we have right now. This is where it starts. This is where we fight. You know, we're not fighting for just the rights and our abilities to act as citizens within our counties. This is about being Americans. You know, we didn't get these rights and privileges. We fought for them. Our forefathers fought and died and bled for them. We have to remember where our freedoms came from. And I'll tell you this, and I'll end with this. I'll stand by each one of you, no matter what the fight is, to maintain this United States of America. And I'll stand up here with every sheriff as well. Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks everybody for sticking with us. You know, a few months ago, Sheriff Wilson hosted a meeting in his county, invited myself and some other sheriffs up and Southern Oregon sheriffs up, and it was about, I heard a little bit about Fred Kelly Grant and the 10th Amendment, did a little more reading on it. Of course, I heard it in my county from some citizen groups, and that was very educational. A couple of years ago, we learned also about the travel management plan and decommissioning of roads, and my supervisor, he's here tonight with me, Supervisor Les Baugh, we held a rally with citizens near the U.S. Forest Service to basically, don't tread on us, and this is our land, and you're shutting us out, the citizens of America, and that's a big concern. Fortunately, the Board of Supervisors, they enacted coordination in March of 2010. Our Public Works Director went out and surveyed the roads they wanted to change, and we went back with them, and so far we're waiting to hear back from them, but things are looking pretty good, looking smooth. We'll see where that takes us, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. Many of the things I'm going to talk about is the sheriffs are all facing here in their counties too. Illegal marijuana, and this is being primarily grown on public lands. Primarily California, we've been invaded by a group of well-armed, well-financed, and well-organized armed foreign nationals on American soil. They're doing illegal activities. They're shooting at our citizens, killing our citizens, taking our game, and ruining our environment for our use. And we've talked about harvest plans and how many hundreds of thousands of dollars legitimate businesses have to go to try and get a piece of lumber done, but they don't have harvest plans. Well, they have harvest plans, but they're all illegal. And nor do they care about the environment. And that's huge, but yet our federal land, quote, management agencies haven't done a whole lot to manage those. It usually falls to the responsibility of the sheriffs. And so if they were going to have that responsibility, we should have the funding that's coming from the federal government to better manage those lands and protect our citizens. Proposition 215, the Compassionate Use Act, medical marijuana, that's been a huge, huge escalating problem. Don't want to say growing because that might be a pun. But finally, a lot of citizens are standing up and saying, you know, enough is enough. It's not what it was designed for, or it's being abused. You might see some involvement by the federal government recently. We're going to see how that develops, but there still needs to be changes there. Land use, I talked a little bit about, but it still needs to be monitored closely, and don't let it creep up. You saw the map of the United States with all the red on it and those monuments, and there was another seminar I went to at our logging conference in Shasta County. The other parts that we're concerned about, and our supervisor took this on a few months ago, was tank, which they were going to try and put big transmission lines across everybody's property, but not really pay them for it. It was going to ruin their land values. And that started out as a grassroots effort, and it finally got derailed a couple of years ago because of public interest and public involvement, and it got a life of its own, and it finally stopped it. Well, stopped it for now, because I think at some point it'll probably come back. And my supervisor in the back, he can talk a little bit more. Hey, Les, will you hold up your hand? He's right there in the back. Supervisor Les Baugh, thanks. And you're hearing a little bit about, in the newspaper, Assembly Bill 109, the prison realignment. That's a big concern because a lot of money, they're shifting prisoners to the county responsibility, parolees. They're not opening the gates of the prisons and letting people run out, but they're usually people that will be returning here anyway. And if that money dries up, we'll still be, all the counties will be on the hook for that responsibility. And where's that money coming from? Because we know the financial ability of our counties here in Northern California is not very good. We're kind of living year to year on our budgets, and they're pretty tight. So we still have to, we're closely working as state sheriffs with our association to work with the governor's office and work with the legislature to try and get that more balanced, so at least the funding comes there. You know, and also I'd like to thank Sheriff Lopi not only for getting this meeting together, but we saw these land use issues, going back to that, coming up. He saw that, and he asked to form a lands use committee with the California State Sheriff's Association and ad hoc committee, and all of us are on that committee right now. There's a couple of other sheriffs on it, and then we're going to be watching and monitoring, meeting with some of those land agencies. We've named them off here, Fish and Game and Forest Service, BLM, and the others, to try and take that on statewide as an association with 58 total county sheriffs. And then there's the Western States Association of Sheriffs, so that's basically west here, the Rockies, and that's on their radar screen. And then also the National Sheriff's Association, and that's starting to come up on their radar screen. So we're starting to also collaborate and come together as a united front of sheriffs to address these issues that do impact us all. And go ahead. And Sheriff Lope says, yeah, the basic thing is safety, because many things do boil down to public safety. But before we can be fit, either mentally or physically fit, before we can be educated either ourselves or for our children and our grandchildren, before we can enjoy the great North State here, or our parks and the outdoors, even our homes, the businesses to thrive, we have to be safe. And government's first responsibility, and that's been said many times, it's in our California Constitution, Ronald Reagan has said it, is government's first responsibility is to protect its citizens. So thank you all very much for being here. We're trying to stay the watch and work on those issues, but most importantly, we need your help. And that's great that you're helping by being involved in this, because without it, we cannot be effective. We can't stand alone. But thank you all very much for coming.
Well, I'll just elaborate on some Siskiyou County issues quickly. I know that our Board of Supervisor members, Grace Bennett, Marcia Armstrong, Jim Cook, Michael Kopseff, and Ed Valenzuela are here tonight. But they would tell you that one of our biggest challenges is just the economy. Yeah, I mean, the economy is bad. We have 20.6% unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is closer to 30% if you consider the underemployed. And why is this? When my father got back from World War II, he went to work in a lumber mill. At one time, my cousin and my two grandfathers worked in a lumber mill. Isn't it sad that this soldier that was up here that was wounded twice comes back to Siskiyou County? She probably can't even find a decent job, and certainly won't find a job in the timber industry. So when you look at agriculture, which includes ranching and farming is our #1 industry now. And as I mentioned before, if the federal and state government agencies take our water, then we have no general fund, because the general fund is generated by not only tax revenues but also property taxes. This damn thing, we've already had these values on homes plummeting up to 50%. And when again, I'm not a scientist, but you ask the question. Let me see. You're going to take down 4 perfectly functioning dams that provide clean energy to over 70,000 people. Does that make sense to you? And it's not even and you don't even know if it's going to work for the fish. Another thing, I'm very concerned from a standpoint. You take those dams down, you don't have the flood control, you don't have the irrigation in drought years for farmers and ranchers, and you also don't have the water that you use to suppress wildland fires. And on the case of forest management, isn't it ridiculous that I was flying over the forest recently to look for some marijuana patches. We got some in the National Forest Service land areas, like Thom said. And the forests are so thick they look like jungles I've seen in places like the Philippines and Thailand. Well, wouldn't it be nice to manage the forest, to cut down some of the dead and dying trees, replenish the watershed, because a lot of these big trees are sucking up water, and give people jobs, generate tax revenues, bring back fiscal prosperity to this great county and counties all over the country? Wouldn't that be a great thing, for public safety and all of us? And another thing, when you talk about the monument, you talk about the dams, you talk about seizing water, you talk about any seizure of resources. And I've told all these federal and state agencies, a lot of the stuff you do is not constitutional, it's not lawful, and you're not even coordinating with this. How do you get away with this? Well, they're not getting away with it because great sheriffs like this are holding them accountable. Thank you very much.
These are tough acts to follow. It is such an incredible honor to have the ability to sit amongst these ladies and gentlemen, to serve alongside with them, for me to represent the citizens of Plumas County. But my strong sense is that our county borders are somewhat going away, because we are all so united in addressing the same issues. And in Plumas County, we're dealing with the very same issues that are faced by these gentlemen in their counties: timber, mining, water. You know, in Plumas County Unified School District used to be one of the wealthiest school districts in the nation because of the timber. And it's gone. It's just gone, and the mining's gone. And now they're looking at your water, and that presentation earlier tonight was absolutely terrifying. But I think there's something they didn't count on, and it's this. Now, I'm a relatively new sheriff. Been in law enforcement for about 23, 24 years, but I've only been a sheriff for a couple years now. But I think I can pretty safely say that events like this, the coming together of sheriffs like this, is something that hasn't happened in the past. I know with the Tea Party movement and gatherings in my county that I've participated in, I remind them, you know, as bleak as things may look, as challenging as things are, this has not happened before. There is an awakening of a giant, and that is and they didn't count on that. They've been going along. Bruce mentioned earlier the travel management plan. What a benign sounding, innocuous label. And that is the measure of the insidiousness and the calculated efforts that have been underway for a long, long time. And I only became acutely aware of this, for example, the travel management plan just shortly after I took office. And I gained a little bit of notoriety on the internet, I guess, when I was sitting at my desk and the newspaper called me for an interview, and they said, well, what do you think of this travel management plan? And so I told them what I thought. Well, that interview kind of went viral on the internet, and my comments started off with, I think my comments started off with something like, I'll be damned if I'm going to enforce the travel management plan and criminalize the good folks of my county. Well, when that article came out and it went on the internet, and my very best friend, he's like my brother, he's my assistant sheriff, Gerald Hendrick. Now he and I worked together our entire law enforcement careers. He is an early morning person. I'm a late night person. So I'll stay at the office till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. He'll show up at 6 a.m. So between the two of us, we were there about 30 hours a day. And so that thing hit the internet, and he called me at home. And he says, you got to get down here. Thought there was a problem. Maybe somebody escaped. We had a major crime. Well, our computer system was on the verge of, our server was on the verge of breaking down because of all the emails that were coming in. And then last month, I think it was, I had the opportunity to testify in front of a congressional subcommittee, and it's so nice to see so many of the people that I saw in Sacramento are here tonight. But I'll be damned if we're going to criminalize law-abiding citizens for doing nothing more than accessing public lands. the support of all of my citizens in Plumas County and people now throughout the state and the sheriffs, it's very flattering and it's very humbling. But as I reflect on it, it's the measure of something that I find really alarming. Your public officials, your elected officials, either at the city, county, state, federal level, they should not be applauded, nor should they be celebrated for simply doing what you elected them to do. And the support is tremendous, and it strengthens our resolve, and it causes us to run faster and move these items further ahead, knowing that we have such an outpouring of support from our constituents. But you know, that oath that we took, we take it seriously and we mean it. And so many of our public officials, so many of our elected officials treat it as something of a convenience when it's, you know, appropriate. It's something that you have to subscribe to every day. Every issue, every day, all the time. It's non-negotiable. And as much as I appreciate the support, this should be the new base level for public service. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all of the hard work, your dedication, coming out on an evening like this, spending the amount of time we've spent here educating ourselves, becoming acquainted with each other. In closing, I think the coming together of the counties is what will make the difference when counties partner with one another, battling these agencies and these bureaucracies. When the federal government thinks they can take off Siskiyou County because they're broke, when they think they can take off Plumas County because Plumas County's broke, or Sierra County, or Lassen, or Modoc, or Tehama, Trinity, you name it, they're preying on us from an opportunistic standpoint. When we come together the way what we have, and with Oregon now, it's crossing state borders. This is not what they'd planned on, and it's causing them to rethink. I'm absolutely honored to be here. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you.
I'm Karen Bud Fallon. I'm an attorney from Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I'm not sure how I got up here with all these guys that tote guns. But the next time I have to go to Portland to a salmon hearing with Judge Redden, if one of y'all wouldn't mind coming with me, that would be a really good thing. You know, I think a lot of people don't know that attorneys take an oath too. We also take an oath to uphold the Constitution. And you know what one of the saddest thing is that when you go to law school, you don't read the Constitution. You don't read it from top to bottom. And they don't teach you what that Constitution means. What people need to understand is that the Constitution is the foundation. The word Constitution means foundation. And if you don't have a good foundation of your home will crumble. If we don't have a good foundation for this country will crumble. Now let me tell you a few things about the Constitution that you all should keep in mind. One of them is if you read the Constitution, you will understand that the way it is set up, that the federal government and state government has to have a law for everything that they do. When the federal government comes out and asks you or tells you what they're doing, you have the right to say, and what law allows you to do that? But it doesn't work the other way around. The Constitution made the citizens of the United States free people. And so we can do anything that the law does not prohibit. And I got to tell you, I think in Washington they kind of got that swapped. And I think we have to start enforcing that. We have to start asking, what law gives you the right to stop my use? What law gives you the right to come into my county and all of a sudden start closing roads? Now, I grew up on a cattle ranch. I'm the 5th generation to live in that same old house in Big Piney, Wyoming. And it was really interesting growing up on that ranch because we used to go to meetings where they would try to tell us that our cattle 150 miles away were somehow or the other impacting the geysers in Yellowstone Park. I am not kidding you. And I would listen to these guys and think, you know, if we were as bad as they say that we are, we'd have put ourselves out of business 4 generations ago. You should be proud of what you do and proud of who you are, and you do not need a law to be able to manage your homes and manage your lives. Now let me tell you something else about the Constitution. I think this is really interesting. You know Daniel Webster, the guy that wrote the dictionary? He did not write the first dictionary so y'all could spell better. In fact, if you look at one of the first dictionaries in the first publication in the very front, it says that he wrote the dictionary so that they couldn't change the meaning of the words in the Constitution. When the founders were inspired to write that document, he was so concerned that the courts would screw it up. He wrote the dictionary to keep those meanings true to what the founders envisioned for this country. And another thing you've got to remember is that a lot of people make the mistake and they call it my constitutional rights. Ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution does not give you rights. God gives you rights. The Constitution is the document that stops the government from taking your rights. So the next time you hear somebody talk about your constitutional right, you should correct him and say, no, it's my guaranteed right, because that is not where your rights came from. And if you look at the Federalist Papers, if you look at the writings of the founders, they wrote the Bill of Rights, and even though private property is not mentioned until the 5th Amendment, they believed that the foundation for every single right in this country, our freedom of speech, our freedom to vote, our freedom to petition, it's all based on the right of ownership of private property. And it doesn't matter whether that private property is my parents' ranch in Big Piney, Wyoming, or your right to make a living and to hold something, or your ideas, they're your property. And the founding fathers believed that that was the basis for every other freedom we have in this country. Now, I don't want to go over my 5 minutes with all these guys with guns up here, but I am going to tell you one of the questions you've been asking is, why is this happening? I can tell you one of the reasons it's happening is because the federal government pays environmental groups to sue the federal government to stop your use of your property. And the federal government doesn't even track the money. They have absolutely no idea how much money they paid. Right now in the salmon litigation that was filed by Earth Justice representing the National Wildlife Federation, the federal government, for litigation that's not over, has paid $2 million to the environmental groups. So ladies and gentlemen, you're funding your own demise, because that kind of money is going to these groups. Because the federal government doesn't track it. Sitting in my little law firm with a computer and a paralegal in Cheyenne, Wyoming, we tracked $36 million paid to 19 environmental groups in 9 years. And we only polled 19 states. You imagine how much money we're talking about if we're looking at all the states? This kind of madness has to stop. We have to get control of this government. One way to do that is rallies like this, standing with sheriffs like this, standing up for our country, teaching our children. I got to tell you one quick story. We were reading in the newspaper the other day about how the federal government is trying to rebrand itself, you know, like advertising. They are. They're trying to rebrand themselves as the federal family. Because according to the newspaper, that sounds better than the bureaucracy. And so my husband and I are standing in the kitchen and we're laughing about the federal family, and my 17-year-old son rolls his eyes and says, "This is the most dysfunctional family I have ever heard of." So thank you for having me. I appreciate your sheriffs. I appreciate you for electing them, and keep up the fight.
Thank you. Alrighty. I'm going to take care of a couple of housekeeping rules real quick before I start. And I'm going to start off with a good attorney joke. Actually, I'm just kidding. Just kind of testing out the microphone to see how far away from my face I need to hold this. So I would like to introduce my wife and my son, Tyler and Roseanne. A couple other things that I would like to bring up is that I'm from Grant County, Oregon. We should be brother and sister counties. We are so much alike that when I walk through the door back here this evening, this gentleman right back here running all the electronics, his dad is one of my deputies in my county. Could I ask for your help in, there were quite a few people in the video that are here tonight. Could you please stand up? If there's any people, this gentleman back here. What I would like to say is that during that video, there was a lot of emotion. And if you people think that these are the only people that this dam removal is going to affect, you've got another thing coming. I can see the exact same thing happening in my county with our schools, with our city government, with our county government, with our state government, and the only thing that's out of control is the federal government. Our, our schools are down about 50% in their enrollment. Our high school alone had about 1,200 students. Just this last year, they closed our junior high and consolidated it with the high school. Our population in our school right now is at about 600 students. The school government is coming to the county asking to borrow money when we are one of the richest timber counties in the state of Oregon. How asinine and uncalled for is this? And it's brought on by the only people that we have in positions that we are asking to take care of us. And it's wrong. I've heard a couple of the other sheriffs up here speak, and they mirror exactly where I stand. We have taken an oath of office. Every elected official has taken an oath of office. If they haven't taken the oath of office, they don't belong in office. Some of the things that have gone on that in the county that I reside in, where I serve, started seeing the excessive use of force and people getting guns pointed at them by federal officers for wood permit violations, road closure violations. It's excessive use of force. It's uncalled for. It's unacceptable. I am not a government employee. I am a public servant. I serve the people who elected me. I serve the people that elected me to office. There's no guarantee from one day to the next whether I will be in office. However, I chose on my own to take a stand, to stand between bad government, bad choices, bad decisions, and the way people are treating the people that I am sworn to protect and defend them, whether they're from my county or whether you come to our county to visit or recreate, or if you have a business or if you're just traveling through. I have a duty and an obligation to keep you from bad government. I can honestly say that it's an honor and a pleasure to stand up here with the rest of the sheriffs and with Karen. And I just want to say thank you to the family that's going to host us tonight and give us a place to stay. It's been an honor to come down and visit a lot of people. There's another.
All right, we're getting set up at the conference. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to close this particular broadcast. We actually had some issues with Harney County people trying to keep us from getting into this freaking meeting and actually live streaming, which pisses me off. I had to call Sheriff Mack and bug him. Last thing I should have had to do was call Sheriff Mack and bug him just before this in order to get us in there to broadcast, because Harney County fucktards were trying to keep us from getting in there and broadcast and making this public. God damned assholes. Anyway, excuse my language, but it pisses me off. Freedom of the press is not an option. Yeah, everybody talks the constitutional crap. Freedom of the press is not an option. It's a constitutional right. Just like all this other constitutional crap they're talking about. And it's not crap, but it's just, I'm a little agitated. I had to suddenly make a whole bunch of calls to make this happen because we had Harney County assholes trying to keep us out of there. Anyway, I have to close this particular broadcast, let it cycle for a couple of minutes and reset the broadcast. Stand by, please. We're going off air right now. Don't go anywhere. Drop anchor in the chat or drop anchor on this. We'll be right back.